Texas football's college football playoff hopes are on life support after a thrashing between the hedges against Georgia. Texas basketball had a perfect week on the hardwood after the men and women won both of its games, and Texas volleyball capped off its incredible regular season with a win, building much needed momentum going into the SEC tournament. All of this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. I am Nolan Clay, hosting with Zoe Frigillana tonight. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org. On Saturday night, Texas took a huge hit to its college football playoff hopes, losing to Georgia for the third straight time. In this instance, it happened in embarrassing fashion, falling 35-10. There are a lot of questions floating over the team, and some of those questions were answered at head coach Steve Sarkisian's Monday press conference. Our very own Kendell Ungar and TJ Krilowicz were at the presser covering all of the action.
TSTV Sports checking in. I'm Kendell Ungar. This is TJ Krilowicz. Obviously, tough loss against Georgia for the Texas Longhorns. Monday's media avail just wrapped up. We're outside of DKR Stadium to talk about this game a little bit. TJ, you were at the game on Saturday. Let's just hear about what you thought covering the game.
Yeah, I think the game went as good as it possibly could have for a coverage standpoint. I think we had tons of fun getting to Athens. We took a road trip. We got there, and once we did, we started interviewing some of the fans on the street, Georgia and Texas fans, and it was really interesting to hear some of these perspectives, especially from different parts of the country, different parts of the conference in the SEC. But of course, the game itself did not go too well, especially in that fourth quarter. But one of the biggest takeaways from this game was that Arch Manning looked decently well, but the drops, a lot of people were talking about that from the receivers, specifically Ryan Wingo in that one sequence in the second quarter. What did Steve Sarkisian and or Arch Manning have to say about these drops in the press conference?
Yeah, I will say it was interesting. Michael Taft and Arch Manning were at the podium together. They've done that multiple times this season. And Arch said, you know what, just move on. He said, I've had problems where I've made the wrong throw. Just it happens. That's football. Taft even had an interesting quote about just, that's football. That's what happens. People make mistakes. It's all part of the game. So let's just check out what that quote was and see what Sark even had to say about what even happened this fourth quarter.
Great saying that I've learned one time before is you're not a bad player just because you made a bad play. Bad plays are going to happen. That's why you play the game of football. It's the game of life. You're always going to have bad plays in the game of football and in the game of life, but that doesn't make you a bad player. So, I don't think you should ever move past losing because I think you learn from being able to lose, but you never want to, take a shot at your confidence. You should know that you're a really good player. You deserve to be out here.
When you really look at the gravity of from 14-10 to 35-10, they scored 21 points. We ran 3 plays on offense. And so, there's a lot of ways to look at the game and what happened and what we could have done differently and or better. But if you really just take a snapshot of the game, that's when it got away from us.
It's always nice when your starting quarterback has your back, especially in mistakes like missed balls. So for now, it's Arkansas up next on Saturday. The Horns are back at DKR, A&M the following week. So 2 weeks left of the regular season, so much to uncover. TJ, what do you have to say about these playoff implications?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, first of all, are kind of looking ahead to the Texas A&M game and trying to hope to beat the unbeaten Aggies. But Sarkisian in this press conference and also all the players talked about Arkansas being a dangerous team. They've only lost by a collective 11 points through 4 road games this season, and that counts for a lot of competitive opponents, talking about Ole Miss, even Tennessee, even LSU, even though they're having a down year. That's still a tough environment to go in and have success. So Arkansas is going to probably throw a couple punches in the Saturday game, and Sarkisian and the players are ready for that, it seems like, from this press conference that they talked about. But according to playoff implications, I think all Texas has to do, it's pretty simple. They just have to win out their remaining 2 games against Arkansas this weekend and then at Texas A&M, and then just pray. Just pray to see if they can get in as a 3-loss team. see if that loss against Ohio State and maybe even this loss against Georgia, being only down by 4 into the fourth quarter, kind of holds some weight into helping them get in. But unfortunately, it's looking like a pretty long shot. So again, Arkansas comes into town at DKR right behind us. That'll be a 2:30 kickoff on Saturday. For TSTV Sports, I'm TJ Krilowicz. She's Kendell Ungar.
Great work, Kendall and TJ. This weekend, Texas was looking to overcome its past demons against Georgia, while the Bulldogs were looking to once again establish dominance over the Longhorns. Let's take a look at the highlights. Texas traveled to Athens, Georgia to play between the hedges in Sanford Stadium for the first time in its history, and the crowd was ready. Texas drove downfield for an opening field goal, but Georgia responded right away with an opening touchdown drive capped by this 17-yard touchdown pass from Gunnar Stockton to Noah Thomas, making it 7-3 Bulldogs. Texas struggled to move the ball for the rest of the first quarter, and Georgia capitalized, finding its playmakers, including this 30-yard catch and run from Zachariah Branch to put Georgia in a goal-to-go situation. The Dawgs would capitalize on Branch's electric play, with Gunnar Stockton finding Noah Thomas again for his second touchdown of the game, opening up an early 11-point lead over the Longhorns. Now later in the second, Arch in the offense needed to cut into the lead, but he would be picked off on this play for the first time since Mississippi State. Texas had a case for a possible holding on DeAndre Moore, but the refs did not see anything. The Texas defense held strong to end the half and would come out flying again in the second half as linebacker Anthony Hill would make an incredible acrobatic intercepting Gunnar Stockton. As you can see right here, Hill has his hips moving like Shakira, reading Stockton's eyes, and perfectly high points the ball for the incredible takeaway. Not a lot of linebackers can make that play. Now Texas has the momentum back on its side, needing to capitalize, and it does as Manning finds Ryan Wingo for 6 to cut the lead to 4. It was a nice redemption moment for Wingo after 2 early drops in the game. However, Georgia would snatch the Longhorns' chain once again, converting 2 fourth downs and finishing off the drive with this beautiful 30-yard pitch and catch from Stockton to London Humphreys to push the lead back to 11. Kirby Smart can now smell blood, and he goes for the kill, executing an inch-perfect onside kick, catching Texas off guard like he did with a fake punt in the SEC championship game last season. Now the crosshairs are lined up, and Gunnar Stockton pulls the trigger, delivering the finishing blow to the Longhorns with this masterfully executed 6-yard touchdown pass to Lawson Lucky. Georgia would score one more touchdown to add insult to injury, and the game would end 35-10 with Kirby Smart and his Georgia Bulldogs cementing their full ownership over Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. Our very own TJ Krilowicz and Grabiel Silva were on the scene at Sanford Stadium this week. Let's take a look at their coverage.
After the Georgia Bulldogs took 2 games from the Texas Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian last year, they came into this season hoping to finally take over the Bulldogs. And tonight, they had that opportunity between the hedges here in Athens, and unfortunately, didn't go their way once again. Here is how it all went down.
And let's make some Sanford Stadium noise for our defending SEC champion, Georgia Bulldogs!
On a gorgeous Saturday night in Athens, the Longhorns traveled to face the Bulldogs in a showdown with serious playoff implications. Texas entered ranked number 10, Georgia number 5, and in front of a hostile crowd, the first 3 quarters were competitive. The score hung tight at 14-10 in favor of Georgia. But then everything unraveled in the fourth quarter. Georgia rattled off multiple unanswered touchdowns, including a surprise onside kick that shifted momentum, and Texas simply could not recover. The Bulldogs pulled away, and the Longhorns' bid for a major statement win collapsed. Coach Steve Sarkisian postgame didn't sugarcoat the performance.
I thought in the third quarter, when we cut it to a 14-10 game, it was like, okay, let's go play. And we just couldn't put it all together. We couldn't tie offense, defense, special teams all together tonight.
And Arch Manning, despite showing flashes of his talent with 250-plus passing yards, admitted the team came up short.
I thought we were in a pretty good spot, just kind of got out of control. And it starts with me. I got to play better. I got to lead better. And we got to get back to work and stick together throughout these last 2 weeks.
Well, if the 7-3 Texas Longhorns want to make the college football playoffs right now, it's pretty simple. They just have to win out and pray. They have 2 games left against Arkansas and then the unbeaten Texas A&M Aggies. Both are going to be in Austin. In Athens, TSTV Sports, TJ Krilowicz. Well, to say it was a rough night would be an understatement for this Texas Longhorns football team. Losing, and not just losing, getting dismantled by Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, 35-10. But Grabiel Silva, we had a 4-point game going into the fourth quarter. What went wrong in that fourth quarter for it to end up in this fashion?
Yeah, you say the word dismantling, and for 3 quarters, you could say that it was probably a close game. It's a dogfight that the Longhorns wanted to be in. And, you know, they go into the fourth quarter down 4 points, and the next time they get the ball back, they're down 18. That is not the formula that Texas needed going into this game, especially against a team like the Georgia Bulldogs coming into Sanford Stadium in Athens. Just, you can't get yourself behind the ball like that, and that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter. Just plenty of mental mistakes that were, you know, caught up to them from early in the game, caught up to them late in the game, and the Longhorns just couldn't battle back. I think they only got the ball twice in the fourth quarter, and they were already down multiple scores by then.
And this loss for the Texas Longhorns now takes them to a 7-3 record. It's going to be pretty slim for them to kind of come back and make this college football playoffs. They still have 2 games remaining, both in Austin against Arkansas and the unbeaten Texas A&M Aggies. But as we know, it's going to be a very, very tall mountain for them to climb to make it back into the college football playoffs this year. This has been TJ Krilowicz. It's been Grabiel Silva in Athens, Georgia for TSTV Sports.
Outstanding coverage, TJ and Grabiel. Now here to talk more about a disaster weekend for Texas is Zoe and Trinity. Zoe?
Thanks, Nolan. I'm here with Trinitee Jason to talk Texas football after the Longhorns took a devastating loss of this season against Georgia in Athens. Welcome to the show, Trinity. How are you doing tonight?
You know, I'm not doing too well. Being a fan of the SEC this year, it has been an emotional roller coaster. The uncertainty of how this season is going to end is so intriguing.
I couldn't agree more. With so much talent in the SEC from week to week, it seems as if the final game or even the final play of the season could be a deciding factor as to which team will continue their season in the playoffs. So what takeaways did you gather to explain how Georgia was ultimately able to dominate in the fourth quarter of this game?
You know, Zoe, Georgia played an amazing game in all aspects, starting with their amazing defense, limiting Texas to only 23 rushing yards, remaining very aggressive and physical along the offensive and defensive lines. Their coaches did an amazing job of confusing the Texas defense with many motion plays, which caused the Texas defenders to be totally out of place. The pressure from the interior didn't allow Arch much time to scan the field and look for open receivers. This ultimately caused him to cede heavily, having 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They say the football game is won in the trenches, and this is a perfect example of just that.
Yeah. As I watched the game, even going into the fourth quarter, Texas was in striking distance, though. Was there any significant play or moment that ultimately swung the momentum in favor of Georgia?
Absolutely. In fact, that onside kick might have been the most gutsiest call of the season that caught everyone from fans to coaches and players totally by surprise. It appeared as if Georgia recovering that kick in that moment only deflated the Longhorns' hope. From that moment on, I don't believe the Longhorns could recover from that play.
Yeah. So, Trinity, despite suffering this loss to Georgia, all hope for the college football playoffs is not lost. A win over arch rival Texas A&M, who's currently ranked number 3 in the nation, would be a very impressive win and would go a long way with impressing the playoff selection committee. What can Texas improve on to be ready for the matchup against the Aggies?
Luckily, the Longhorns have one more game before they face A&M, which allows them to get back totally healthy, and we all know in rival games, anything can happen. If Texas can get back to a steady dose of offense and special teams and allow the defense to control the game, then they should walk off the field at DKR with the win. There aren't many teams in the country with more talent across the field than Texas. They just need to focus on eliminating careless penalties and making uncommon mistakes. I, for one, as an SEC fan, am excited knowing the playoff scenario won't be decided until the SEC season is complete. This one win from Texas can change the entire landscape of the playoffs.
Thanks again for joining us, Trinity. Let's send it back to Nolan at the desk.
Solid work, Trinity and Zoe. When College Press Box returns, we'll take a look into Texas Volleyball's great finish to the regular season and preview its chances to win the upcoming SEC tournament. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas Volleyball wrapped up their regular season this Sunday with a 3-1 win against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Let's go to Nolan, who's with Kate, to take a closer look at this team.
Thanks, Zoe. I'm here with Kate Aidan to talk more about Texas Volleyball as they prepare for the SEC tournament. Welcome to the show, Kate. How are you?
I'm honestly a little sad that there will be no more volleyball games at Greg for the future.
Absolutely. So let's get started. Yes, always sad when a season is coming to an end, but this team is not close to being finished with their season. Before we jump into that, give me your favorite highlights of the season.
This season is going to be one to remember with the incredible undefeated lead that Texas held on for most of the season. But my favorite highlight of the season has to be Texas' first home game, beating Stanford and playing at the Moody Center for the first time ever. Texas was slightly favored to win this game just because of the record-breaking crowd of 11,000 fans. Stanford made it to the semifinals last year, and as Texas did not have a strong 2024 season, but being ranked higher than Stanford to start the season. This game went to 5 insane sets, but Texas pulled out the win. Texas started the game off with winning the first 2 sets, the first one by 10 points and the second set 25-23. As Texas about to sweep Stanford, the Cardinals made a comeback in the third set with Stanford winning 25-21 and then winning the fourth set 25-13. The Longhorn fans in the crowd were looking nervous as Stanford is on a roll. Going into the fifth set, Stanford has the lead 10-5, but Texas took a timeout and had a 7-2 scoring run, making them take the lead 12-11. The battle kept going, and Texas pulled out the win, a 18-16 victory. Leaders of Texas included veteran Tori Stafford with 18 kills. The freshman Kari Spears showed Longhorn Nation who she was with those 14 kills. This game has to be highlighted this season when playing at Moody Center and taking this game to 5 sets.
Absolutely. You know, that game had to set the tone for the season, just going for the rest of the season. And I agree with you, Kate. Having the volleyball team play at the Moody to start the season was pretty incredible. But now, after a season full of wins, it's time for SEC tournament. Last week, you talked about Kentucky being Texas' biggest competition going into the SEC tournament. Is that still the case?
Yes, I do believe that this is still the case. But something to notice about Kentucky volleyball is they took OU, the Wildcats, to 5 sets. Even though Kentucky beat Oklahoma, that doesn't justify the win. OU is not even ranked in the top 25 and has lost 5 games in a row this season. Kentucky is a very dominant team, but having this close of a loss to a not ranked team at the very end of the season isn't a good sign motivating into the SEC tournament. Kentucky will be the main competitor against Texas, but A&M just got the number 2 spot over Texas just because Texas lost to A&M. Even though I believe Texas is the stronger team in general. Texas and A&M have the chance to play against each other in the semifinals to make it to the finals. Another team who'll be a strong contender will be number 5 pick Florida. Florida's defense is one of the best in the SEC, and with Texas strong hitters like Stafford and Spears, it could be a tough game if it comes down to Florida and Texas playing. Even though Texas did beat Florida after 3 tough losses to A&M and Kentucky, I still think Florida will be a dominant team in the SEC tournament. Kentucky is still the number 1 competitor against Texas, but A&M and Florida are still close by.
Absolutely. You know, Kentucky is a strong competitor for Texas. And then what are Texas' strengths that allowed them to be ranked number 3 in this SEC tournament?
Texas' strengths include being a team that can kill the ball. They are ranked first in the SEC for the highest hitting percentage. All season, we talked about how great Texas hitters are, from veteran Stafford to rookie Spears to Vanderwall. Texas is known to hit the ball, and they can. When looking at the team stats, Texas has 1,267 kills, and their opponents have a whopping 1,025 kills. When Texas played Vanderbilt, Texas had 44 kills, with Vandy only having 29. When they played Florida, Florida had 55 kills, and Texas had 62. Even when Texas lost to Texas A&M, they still had more kills, with having 62 kills and A&M having 55. Texas relies on their outside hitters to have such a dominant team. And Texas hitters are so good because of the incredible junior setter, Ella Swindle, who has a total of 745 assists. Kentucky setter, Ava Safara, only having 633 assists. Texas' strengths going into the SEC tournament will be Texas' ability to hit the ball and get points doing so.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said. That'll do it from here. Thanks for joining us again, Kate. Back to you at the desk, Zoe.
Thank you, Kate and Nolan. When College Press Box returns, we'll be taking a deep dive into both Texas men's and women's basketball. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas women's basketball has started the season 4-0 and has a couple big games coming up. For more analysis, let's send it over to Zoe.
Thanks, Nolan. I'm here with Colin Flickinger. How's it going, Colin?
Pretty good, Zoe. How about you?
Doing good. The Texas women's basketball team has started off hot with 4 straight wins, including a win over then number 24 Richmond. 3 of their wins were by a margin of greater than 60 points. With 2 of Texas's 5 leading scorers from last year having graduated, who has stepped up to spark this scoring charge?
Well, Zoe, Madison Booker has reprised her role as the Longhorns' leading scorer so far this year with 16.3 points per game, including 22 in the game against Richmond. After her, the 2 young guards, Jordan Lee and Aaliyah Crump, have stepped up to fuel the Longhorns' early season success. After being 8th last year on the team with 5.8 points per game, sophomore Jordan Lee has been averaging an explosive 15 points with an elite 66.88 true shooting percentage through games. Lee also currently leads the team in minutes played with 28 per game. Freshman Aaliyah Crump out of Minnetonka, Minnesota also follows just behind Lee with 13.7 points per game on just over 47% from the field. The former 5-star freshman led the team in scoring this past Sunday with 18 points in their win over Texas Southern. After Crump, center Kayla Olker and Brea Cunningham have been, averaging over 10 points a game as well, spurring the Longhorns to have the 4th best scoring offense in women's basketball so far.
Yes. The Longhorns have a couple of big games coming up in next week in the Players Era Championship, where they will play UCLA followed by South Carolina or Duke the next day. What are the keys for the Longhorns if they want to come out of Las Vegas with 2 wins?
Well, obviously, if you want to win both games, you need to win the first game, and that's going to be against number 3 UCLA. So far, the Bruins have started the season red hot with double-digit wins over number 6 Oklahoma and number 11 UNC, holding both teams to 59 and 60 points respectively. If the Longhorns want to get past the Bruins, they will need to continue putting up explosive numbers on the score sheet, which is far easier said than done against what is already this early into the season a proven UCLA defense. UCLA also has 3 guards averaging over 13 points per game, so limiting the Bruins' ability to score with their backcourt needs to be a top priority for Vic Schaefer's squad. For the game on Thanksgiving Day against U of SC or Duke, the Longhorns' biggest focus needs to be depth scoring. Both Duke and South Carolina have done well in limiting their opponent's offensive production so far this season. So being able to have players come off the bench and get you points is exactly what the Longhorns need if they want to have a chance at whichever team they end up facing on Thanksgiving Day. Both teams the Longhorns may face are top 5 in the country in shooting percentage against, while the Longhorns are 2nd in the nation in field goal percentage, which will lead to some interesting dynamics come game time. I'm personally most intrigued by the possibility of a rematch of last year's Final Four and SEC championship game between South Carolina and Texas, as the Longhorns will seek to avenge their losses in both of those games. Either way, whichever the 4 teams come out with 2 wins is likely to be the number 2, if not number 1 team in the following week's AP poll.
Yeah, I'd love to see that rematch. But great analysis, Colin. Let's switch it over to men's basketball.
On Wednesday night, Texas men's basketball took on Fairleigh Dickinson, looking to start its first win streak of the young season. Our very own Trinitee Jason and Kate Aidan had us covered with all of the action.
In the beginning of the first half, FDU comes out hot, making shots, jumping to an early lead of 10-2. But Texas maintains their composure and continues to execute. Modest completes a drive with an assist from Pope to boost the Longhorns' offense. But FDU does not back down, making this corner 3 from their out-of-bounds play. Still maintaining momentum, the Longhorns slow the offense, moving the ball to help create this amazing drive for Tremont Mark. The Longhorns lose possession, but scrambles for the ball to make an assist to Pope for a sidestep 3. This keeps the Longhorns on fire. To further extend the lead, with this amazing overhead assist by Tremont Mark to Camden Hyde for the 3, ending the first half 43-24. In the second half, Daly Swain comes in hot with this emphatic dunk pulling away from FDU. But FDU continues to fight back in the very last seconds. But the Longhorns takes the win, 93-58.
The Texas men's basketball team had their second home game of the season against Fairleigh Dickinson. Even though the team pulled out a large win, winning 93-58 against the Knights, the team had some struggles on the offensive side of the ball. The Longhorns were 6 out of 23 from the three-point marker and was 19 out of 34 from the free-point line. Head coach Sean Miller said,
"If we could have been better in those two areas tonight, we would have pushed the 100-point mark, and I think, we all would have taken that."
Though the team needs to work on those two aspects, the Longhorns did have some strong highlights. Tremon Mark was the lead scorer for Texas with 20 points, and his teammate Modest Vakatitis right behind him with 19 points. The highlight of the game was this drive that started with Mark getting the rebound, dribbling up court, passing it to number 3, Dalen Swain. He goes up court, passing it to number 5, Camden Hyde, passes it back to Mark. Mark hooks it over to Hyde, who is on the three-point line, and makes it. Then this awesome dunk by Nick Cody to get the fans on their feet early in the game. Coach Miller wanted to highlight the team's identity this season.
We've done a good job of taking care of the ball. In the month of November, oftentimes we turn it over more. We've really done a good job of taking care of it. Even against Duke, remember Lucina and Modest, I think they combined for 9 turnovers. The rest of the team had 7. So I think taking care of the ball is something that's part of our good identity moving forward.
The Longhorns play Rider University tonight at 8 p.m. at Moody Center before the team heads off to Maui, Hawaii for a tournament. This is Kate Amon signing off for TSTV Sports.
Great work, Trinity and Kate. Now, for more analysis on Texas men's basketball, let's send it over to Zoe.
I'm back here with Aidan Urbach. How's it going, Aidan?
I'm good, Zoe. Still grappling with the fact that the Horns football team are not a legitimate title contender, and how I might see the team play on ESPN Ocho come bowl week. But let's get into some men's hoops.
Yeah, so Texas beat Kansas City 71-55, but when you look past the score, what really jumps out to you about the performance?
The thing that really strikes out to me, Zoe, is how much this game was won straight off by their defense and rebounding. More than the pure shot making, Texas holds Kansas City to 55 points, forcing the team to shoot a mere 37% from the floor, and just 1 of 14 from 3. Which is basically daring the Roos to beat you from the downtown and then slamming the door. On the glass, Texas is plus 16 from 51 to 35 overall, and huge 19 to 10 on the offensive boards. So even on a night where they shoot under 40% as a team from the field, and just 4 of 20 from 3, they're creating second chances and controlling the tempo. That's the profile of a team that can win ugly when shots aren't falling.
Yeah, the front court really seemed to set the tone. How did guys like Modest and Lucina impact this game?
They were massive, literally and figuratively. Matas Vokititis gave the squad 12 points and 8 boards. And a lot of that production comes from activities slipping into space, attacking the glass, making himself available around the rim. Then you bring in Lucina Troyore off the bench, and he drops a double-double with a mere high 10 points with 12 rebounds. That's his 33rd career double. So making a presence in the paint is what he does. Together, these two centers really anchor UT's front court with 40 points in the interior and 19 offensive rebounds to go along with the two's dominant presence inside. When you're bigs and that physical tendency and that relentless pressure, it covers up a lot of the three-point shooting woes as the team had a difficult time scoring in the perimeter, shooting a shallow 18% from three on 4 of 22 shooting.
Thank you, Aidan. Now back to you at the desk, Nolan.
Thanks, Zoe, and great work, Colin and Aidan. When we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. Head coach Dave O'Neill and the Texas rowing program added 16 new Longhorns to the program for fall of 2026. The Texas rowing program has continued to grow and make a large impact within the sport. This past September, the Longhorns made history by sending 7 rowers, the most of any program, to the 2025 World Championships. I'm excited to see how these new recruits who come from 7 different states and 7 different countries will contribute to the team.
On Friday night, longtime Texas men's golf coach John Fields was inducted into the University of New Mexico's Athletic Hall of Honor. Before coaching at Texas, Fields played 4 years at New Mexico, finishing in the top 8 nationally twice, and also served as the Lobos head coach for 10 years, leading them to 9 NCAA championship appearances. At Texas, Fields has led the Longhorns to 2 national championships and 23 appearances in the NCAA championships.
Aliyah Lizzie Spate, future Longhorn and number 9 overall pick in the class of 2026, was named to the Jersey Mike's Naismith Trophy Girls High School Player of the Year watch list. The 5'7" guard averaged 19.6 points this past season and led her high school team, Bishop Gorman, to the 2024 state championship. Spate has had many successful accolades in her career so far, like 2023-2024 Nevada Gatorade Player of the Year and 2025 Mamba League MVP, making her a very strong addition to this team.
Now let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. Tonight, men's basketball is at home against Rider at 8 p.m. That will be on SEC Network. On Wednesday, women's basketball is at home against James Madison at 7 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. On Saturday, Texas football looks to bounce back at home against the Arkansas Razorbacks at 2:30 p.m. That will be on ABC. And on Sunday, Texas begins its SEC Volleyball tournament run in the quarterfinal. Their opponent is to be determined. That will be at 6 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. And on Monday, Texas men's basketball begins their Maui Invitational journey against Arizona State. That will be at 10:30 p.m. on ESPN2.
And that concludes this week's episode of College Press Box. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, please make sure to tune in to our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfire Wednesdays, airing at 9 p.m., and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer, Kendell Ungar, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Zoe Frigillana, he's Nolan Clay. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.